going to start by playing you some music.
Yes.
I'm sorry, it's so good.
I was just
Anybody
getting into it.
Anybody know who that is?
Is that?
Oh, that's one of them, yeah. Yeah, Beastie Boys. All right, I'm going to play another song. Anybody know who that is?
Is that Kathleen Howe?
Good guesses. Good guesses. Okay, I'm gonna play another one.
It's Mayfield.
Anybody know who that is? All right, so all three of those songs are from the same group, the Beastie Boys, and that is, not commonly known, I assume, and from no one seemed to guess that, so the assumption is probably accurate. They're, quite often looked at as strictly a hip-hop group, but the Beastie Boys are much more than that, and I'm going to go over two main reasons why they are a huge influence to me. Overall, they approach art as what I like to call a production, which I'll define in a little bit. The first reason is the idea that the Beastie Boys have always approached their creation of music, or art, to put it more generally, by refusing to restrict themselves to any particular genre. This creative freedom, and what I'm about to say, I have not explicitly heard this from them, but I can only safely assume. But their creative freedom, they have a creative freedom where they feel compelled to create something and do it without any thought to their place as a hip-hop group or any other kind of pigeonhole or label that media or society feels to put them into. The second reason stems from when I was lucky enough to have seen them. Unfortunately, that is no longer possible. One of the members has recently died, MCA, rest in peace, my friend. But I would like to take you all back to 2004, to the Worcester Centrum in Worcester, Massachusetts. Yes, very nice. It's a pretty large stadium, quite a few thousand people, and the stage, a big stage, and it was pretty bare. And in the back was a raised platform where the DJ and Mixmaster Mike was, and then in front were the three Beastie Boys dancing skillfully, performing their hip-hop songs. And after a few songs, they left the stage, and the stage revolved around 180 degrees to reveal an entirely different stage. And this stage was, I like to describe it, and as I remember it, as a really chill backyard party. All these string lights, and these two huge dudes with giant afros on congas. And and then drums, bass, and guitar with the three Beastie Boys on the instruments, on their respective instruments. And they played their amazing instrumental funk songs like the one that just ended. Now, this was, of course, a completely different vibe from their hip-hop performance, yet it added to this energy that was so interesting and made it so much more elaborate. And so after a few songs of that, the stage revolved around, once again, back to their hip-hop, and they would perform a few more songs from that. Stage would revolve around again, and it kind of went on like this for the entire show, along with some really fun kind of crowd participation, call and response. They would leave the stage and come out in the middle of the crowd and perform a song. So all of this, what I took away from the concert was that it wasn't as much of a concert as it was a production. Need I also mention that the opening act was a dog circus performance. The Beastie Boys are more than a hip-hop group, and their live show is more than a concert. All of it falls under what I like to call the art of production, which can be loosely defined as the act of expressing and creating art without restricting oneself to any particular genre or medium, thereby exploiting and embracing unobstructed creative freedom. I've always tried to use this idea in my creative endeavors, as well as my general outlook on life. And most notably in my recent book I published called Young Wanderlust, of which I'll be reading an excerpt from. It's a little harder to create a production within the confines of a two-dimensional page, but staying in that particular mindset has helped me to get my point across in many different ways other than straight prose. Young Wanderlust is about a postgraduate road trip I took across the country from Amherst, Massachusetts to here, San Francisco, and up to British Columbia. And throughout the book, I utilized maps, icons, lists, recipes, poems, and in the most extreme case, I dived into writing a fairy tale. And that part was the most interesting for me because most of the book's prose was written in a particular style, keeping with the traveling road trip mindset. But all of a sudden I dove into this fairy tale, which involved a completely separate mindset as well as prose. So I'm going to read an excerpt on this, and to quickly give some context, I'm currently in Vancouver, British Columbia, at a nude beach that I was taken to by some new friends of mine that I met through something called couch surfing, and I'm not going to go into that because that's a whole nother presentation, but I highly recommend it as far as traveling is concerned. So, here we go. Can't forget this. Once I was dry, I got up and decided to walk around. Maybe I would run into a butt-naked Loki up to some silly antics. I caught Loki's naked body lying out spread eagle on a blanket in the middle of a group of people. One naked guy had a guitar playing some folk song which sounded in the vein of Neil Young. Next to him was a beautiful, big-breasted girl wearing nothing but trendy sunglasses, lying flat on her back. Two guys with hipster haircuts, long manicured hair with the sides shaved, sat on either side of her, playing a card game on her stomach. Some of the group watched a man who sat cross-legged. He had long, disheveled hair, a big belly, and a little penis that drooped to the side. A girl sat cross-legged across from him, and the man held one of her hands with her palm up, staring at it pensively. "Yo-wee," said Loki. Glad you found us. Come sit. I sat down and a girl passed me a joint. Welcome to Vancouver, she said. It was as if Vancouver's Tourism Bureau had a 20-something department that recruited beautiful naked women to welcome visitors and hand out drugs. Thanks, I said, and I took a big puff off of the joint and passed it to Loki. My body relaxed, even more than it was, and I focused my attention on the long-haired, pot-bellied man. Check this guy out, said Loki. He's a fortune teller. I listened in, and sure enough, he was directing his attention to the girl's palm. He pointed. This is your love line. It shows that a rocky relationship will expose you to an unexpected encounter, which will turn into a very long and fruitful relationship. The girl nodded with a stone grin. And this, excuse me, the fortune teller paused and took a long hit off of the joint. The girl giggled as the fortune teller swayed side to side and exhaled a cloud of smoke. I'm sorry, madam. I think I need a fortune-telling break. That's okay, she said, and pulled her hand away. Then the fortune teller perked up and addressed the group. But I'm ready to tell you all a story. Yay, a story, said Katrina. Her firm breasts gave a little jiggle of excitement as she nudged closer. We all followed suit and scrunched in around the fortune teller. He reached out his hand, and the man noodling the guitar passed the instrument over. The fortune teller took it and started finger-picking a delicate tune which lulled the group into a more relaxed state than they already were. This is a fairy tale, began the fortune teller. A tale that came out of the great glacial lakes of British Columbia. Lakes that take weeks to get to and some are almost impossible to find. Mostly because the wood nymphs are very protective of these sacred places, and they will put out large efforts to alter your course. You may think this unfair, but the forest relies on the wood nymphs to protect that which is most sacred to these ancient woods. The story of Atuk and the Lady of the Deep, as told by a nude fortune teller. This particular story takes place in one of the most sacred and well-protected lakes in all the forest. By the way, in the middle of the page, there's in the middle of these stanzas, there's some line breaks and some little lines here that say finger-picking interlude. So I'm not just playing this for shits and giggles. At the bottom of the lake there liveth Her Majesty, the Lady of the Deep, the Queen of the Nymphs, the Mistress of the Mountains. And if you are lucky enough to have found the lake, you are especially lucky to have seen Her Majesty. Only once a day will she ariseth from the deep and bathe her silk body on the sun rock. This rock lies in the center of the lake, and Her Majesty will only ariseth when the light is absolutely perfectly hitting the rock, which bears the name of Her Majesty up in the sky. It is exactly 2 nymph hours that the sun absolutely perfectly hits the sun rock, which is approximately 4 minutes and 37 seconds in human time. This is the exact amount of time that the Lady of the Deep ariseth from the lake and layeth on the rock, at which point the Lady and Her Majesty up in the sky connect and discuss all matters that pertain to the state of earth and all that liveth, breatheth, on, in, under, over, and around it. Okay, well, unfortunately, I'm going to have to skip ahead due to time and skip to the end of the fairy tale, but pretty much you got the Lady of the Deep and there's the forest dwellers, and then there's a town, which a bunch of people, they're pretty much obsessed with the Lady of the Deep and they want to find her, but they also kind of don't believe that she's real, or that they kind of say that in public, but really deep down inside, they think that if they find her, they'll be granted immortality. And then there's this guy named Atuk who's really obsessed with her. Okay, anyway. Atuk would go home at night and feel his back as he crawled into bed and touch his wrinkles and stare out his window at the starlit sky with the mountains silhouetted by the moonlight and say out loud, "I know you're out there, Your Majesty. One day I will find you. I will seek you out and take you back as my own, and we shall liveth our days together till the end of time and thereafter." Then Atuk would drift to sleep, flying, swimming, and wading through thoughts of prosperity and immortality and the unsurpassable, unimaginable beauty of the Lady of the Deep, the Queen of the Nymphs, the Mistress of the Mountains. fingerpicking stopped. I was lying on my back and I opened my eyes to a clear shade of blue. I turned over and everyone around stirred from their own comfortable positions. "Is that it?" Katrina said with a scrunched face. "For now," said the fortune teller. "It's a work in progress." "But I want to know if Atuk finds the lady of the deep," cried someone in the group. We were resorting to our childhood tendencies of whining about what we didn't get. "I haven't decided if he will or not," said the fortune teller. "I think I'll have Atuk go on a great adventure to find the lake. But when he gets there, he never finds the lady and goes home. Any thoughts? I'm open to suggestions." Everyone sat silently in their own thoughts. "It's a fairy tale," said a girl. "It has to have a happy ending. He can't just go home. He has to get the girl." "I don't agree," said Loki. "That's just a bullshit Hollywood ending. I'm sick of those endings. Let him go home empty-handed. Like the Rolling Stones said, you can't always get what you want." Loki sang while a guy took the guitar and began playing the chords to the Stones song. "If Atuk goes home empty-handed, will he feel content or unfulfilled?" I asked. Some people nodded in agreement. "Good question," said the fortune teller. "This is something I've pondered myself. I think he will have gone on a great adventure to get to the lake. He will discover amazing new things that he had never seen in his entire life as a cobbler, being stuck in the valley. As he returns to his home, he'll be sad that he didn't reach his ultimate goal, but he will not have regretted his journey, one that led him to peril and near death, but was filled with amazing new discoveries and new friends within the forest dwellers." "So the journey was more important than the goal?" someone asked. The fortune teller nodded. "Precisely. But if you try sometimes, you just might find..." Loki jumped up and did a dance, his penis doing a mini dance. "You get what you need!" Thank you.